You never really expect to feel unsafe in your own home. That's supposed to be the one place where you can let your guard down, where the outside world can't touch you. But that illusion shattered for me the moment I heard my front door unlocking, slowly, deliberately, while I was alone inside. My heart started pounding. I hadn't ordered food, wasn't expecting a friend, and my family lives hours away. For a split second, I wondered if I was about to be robbed. But what happened next was even more unsettling. My landlord, without a word or warning, stepped right into my living room as if he owned not just the building, but my privacy too. He had no idea who he was dealing with. It was a Tuesday evening, and I'd just gotten home from a 12-hour shift. I was out of uniform, just trying to unwind and forget about work for a while. My apartment is on the third floor, not exactly easy to access, and I always keep the door locked. That's why, when I heard the key turn, my first thought was that something was wrong. But there he was, my landlord, standing in my living room like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Just a routine inspection," he said, barely glancing at me. "Didn't want to bother you with a call." I was too stunned to respond at first. "Who does that?" I stood up and asked him as calmly as I could, "Did you give me any notice you were coming?" He just shrugged and started poking around the kitchen, opening cabinets, checking under the sink, even peeking into the fridge. It was like he was looking for something to complain about, or maybe just trying to assert his control. I realized this probably wasn't the first time he'd done this, but it was definitely going to be the last. I pulled out my phone and started recording, making sure to capture everything he was doing. He noticed the phone and paused for a second, but then he just smirked. "This is my property. I can come in whenever I want," he said, like that settled the matter. I could feel my patience slipping, but I kept my voice steady. "Actually, that's not how it works. While I'm renting this place, it's my home. You can't just walk in without giving me written notice." "That's the law," he laughed, like I was making a big deal out of nothing, and kept snooping around. I remembered my training from the academy: always stay calm, but never let anyone walk over you. I told him, "If you don't leave right now, I'll have to call the police." He looked me up and down, clearly not taking me seriously. "Go ahead, call them. Let's see what happens." He still had no idea who he was dealing with. I reached into my wallet and showed him my badge. For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Suddenly, his whole attitude changed. He started putting things back where he found them, mumbling something about just checking on the place. But I wasn't about to let him off that easy. I told him I had everything on video and that I'd be filing a formal complaint. The look on his face was priceless, part embarrassment, part fear. But this was just the beginning. What happened next was even more unbelievable. After my landlord left, I sat on my couch for a few minutes, replaying everything in my head. The adrenaline was still rushing through me, but underneath it was a cold, steady anger. I'd always tried to keep things civil with him, but this was a line you just don't cross. I watched the video I'd recorded, making sure every moment was clear. Him unlocking the door, walking in without permission, rummaging through my things. There was no way he could talk his way out of this. I knew exactly what I had to do. The next morning, I went straight to the property management office. I asked to speak with the building supervisor and calmly explained what had happened. At first, they tried to brush me off, saying the landlord was just doing his job and that inspections were normal. But when I showed them the video, their attitude changed instantly. The supervisor's eyes widened, and she started apologizing, promising that this would be taken seriously. I could tell she was worried, probably because she knew this wasn't just a tenant complaint but a legal issue. I filed a formal complaint with the management company and sent a copy of the video to their legal department. Then, I took it a step further. I called the local tenants' rights organization and explained the situation. They were immediately interested, asking if I'd be willing to share my story to help educate other renters about their rights. I agreed, thinking about how many people might be dealing with the same kind of invasion and not even realize it was illegal. Later that day, I got a call from the landlord himself. His tone was completely different, no arrogance, no bravado. He stammered out an apology, saying he didn't mean any harm and that it was all a misunderstanding. I let him talk, but I didn't let him off the hook. I told him flat out that what he did was a violation of my privacy and the law, and that I expected a written apology and a guarantee that it would never happen again. I also made it clear that if there was any retaliation, I'd go straight to the police and the media. Word spread quickly in the building. A few neighbors knocked on my door, quietly asking if I'd had any issues with the landlord. When I told them what happened, their faces lit up with recognition. One woman said she'd come home to find her kitchen cabinets open more than once, but always thought she was just being forgetful. Another tenant admitted he'd seen the landlord in the hallway at odd hours, but never thought much of it. My story gave them the courage to speak up, and soon, several of us were sharing our experiences with the management company. Within a week, the company sent out a letter to all tenants, reminding everyone of their rights and the legal requirements for landlord entry. The landlord was officially reprimanded and warned that any further violations would result in legal action and possible termination of his contract. For the first time since moving in, I felt like I actually had some control over my own home. Looking back, I'm glad I stood my ground. It wasn't just about me. It was about making sure no one else had to feel that same sense of violation in their own space. Sometimes, the only way to protect your peace is to fight for it, even if it means standing up to the person who holds the keys. And if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, remember, you have rights and you're not alone.